Hello and welcome to today's content, which will be on the unit Mua or More. I'm not really sure how to say it, but yeah, that's how it's gonna be pronounced. She's gonna be a water type, and yeah, with that, since she is out, without further ado, let's begin. Here we are for the main job takeaways. Mua is going to be a Kododama wielder as her main job. She's going to have unavailable pain and nimble movement, which is very nice to have. She does have anti-magic wall, is a magic barrier, and her EX version upgrade is going to turn into anti-magic life wall, which she still has the 3 times magic barrier, but she also additionally gains shell and regen for 3 turns. Shell being very good because it is not really dispellable compared to magic damage unless her magic damage barrier, unless she is like killed. So it's gonna be very nice to have. Outside of that, she has bursting light and a heart like needles, and her EX ability she gains, which I also believe is gonna be one of her best abilities, is gonna be light of spell sealing, which is kind of like a Yuna LB if you look at the range on it and how it hits for AoE. It also decreases magic stat as well as inflicting silence for 3 turns depending. It's a 25% base chance, but that's still pretty nice regardless. As you can see, it also does not have a cast time compared to every other ability she has in her kit. Only her limit break and this in her main job do not have cast time, so it is very highly important that she is EX'd if you do plan to use her. Her limit break is going to be Astral Guidance, where it is going to decrease the water resistance by 30% and then deal damage. As you can see, also the AoE is huge, very big, so it's going to be very nice to have. So for the recommended sub-jobs, this is going to be mostly for Mua's, basically to help her deal either more single target damage or give a little bit open to her support side. What I mean by this is the Kododama sub-job is going to have Earth Rendering Pain and Spirit Breaking Pain for single target damage. Her Red Mage sub-job is going to most importantly have Jamming Thrust, which is going to be one of her best abilities on that sub-job. And lastly, we're going to have the Cleric sub-job, where it has most, in my opinion, something to consider if you're going to fight light and or dark compositions. Light Veil and Dark Veil will actually be significantly useful because it will help you raise the light resistance or dark resistance, and that would be the only real reason in my opinion to use the Cleric subjob specifically for those two. Outside of that, I would highly recommend the Red Mage subjob mostly for Jamming Thrust. For resistances and passives, to damage types she has 0% to slash, -5% to pierce, 0 to strike, 5 to missile, and 10 to magic. Keep in mind, however, while this does look a little bit grim overall, she does have a master ability that will increase her magic resistance by another 10%, so it will be at least 20% minimum. From here, she has 0% AoE, 0% single target resistance, and then at level 120 with her master ability included, she has 0 defense and 4 spirit. Now you're thinking, okay, 0 defense, obviously it's not going to be too good. 4 spirit is a little low. However, I will get to that, mostly because of her passives. 4 spirit is actually very good because of her passives. Moving on, her resistances to statuses is going to be very insanely good. 50% to silence, 50% to disable. Because she's 50% to silence, this does mean that because she also can deal silence, she'll be very effective to users that do not have silence resistance. And who this means specifically, I will get to in her next page when we are doing an evaluation of her rating. But either way, 50% to disable is very nice to have, 10% to confusion. I wish she had stop here, but I mean that's fine too. It's fine as long as she mostly got disable, which is one of the most important ones, and silence because she is a mage. For her master ability, she's gonna have the mono water, and then outside of that, she gets magic resistance penetration of 15, not 20 like Helena, unfortunately. However, 15 is still useful. The resistance for magic is going to be 10% for herself, so then her base 10% turns now into 20% base amount. She's a 3 move 1 jump, and she is a 90 cost unit. Not a 80, not a 100, she is a 90 cost. For her passives, and what I would highly recommend is going to be Fire Spirit's Grace. This not only increases her spirit by 18 with her base of 4, meaning she can get up to 22 very easily, also increases her health as well as increasing her fire resistance. Very nice to have. From here, her damaging increase is going to be magic up for the increased magic for 30%. If you wanted to be more anti-magic, however, her spirit up by 15 helps even more because if you use Fire Spirit's Grace, you're already going to be at 22. If you add 15 more, that's going to be literally 37. That is insanely high spirit, and it's going to be hard for any magic damage dealer to deal a significant amount of damage to her. For niche and flex, I put initial AP up, gonna be a little niche, and same with mage's protection. A lot of people are running magic resistance or magic resistance penetration, so increasing this from there only covers up one attack type. It's more recommended in my opinion to more focus on spirit instead of that attack type specifically, unless you really need to boost it. But outside of that, I do believe these are more niche and flex. The initial AP, I do wish it was a lot. If it was a lot more and not just 5 through 15, 15 being in the max, I would recommend it. But because it isn't, I don't see it being enough compared to all her other passives. For her reaction ability, she has the Steel Ephemeral Form, which is very good if you want to just reduce damage in general. However, she does have Magic Reflex if you really want to just mess up magic teams. Magic Reflex can be insanely good. And she does have Auto Cure, which is going to be kind of like the budget Aeon Bond, pretty much. It's not going to be as good, it's not going to proc as much. However, it does help her sustain herself a little bit if she doesn't get taken down. So, here we are, Mua's rating out of 5. If she is EX'd and used as of right now, especially on this map, I will say she is a 4 out of 5. She has mediocre HP, she has high magic, she has good agility, she has a base of 0 defense and 4 spirit. She's capable of dealing very high damage and good damage as well for single target and AoE. Her main job focuses on mitigating taking magic damage, while also being able to silence her enemies as well as deal good magic damage back in return. So she's kind of like Rain, but more DPS oriented and not really a tank, if that kind of makes sense. A magic bruiser, we'll go with that. She's a magic type, magic tanking bruiser. I kind of wish there's a better word for that, but yeah. Her sub-jobs are very flexible, and she can flex into more either single target damage and or a supportive role if she wants to, like with the Calamity buff, Calamity Guard, Dark Veil, Light Veil. She does have 100% hit abilities with the unavailable Pain. However, it does not hit anywhere hard as Holy, or from Helena's EX ability, it does not hit as hard as those, unfortunately. Her resistances overall are actually pretty shabby outside of the magic resist, as you saw, 0 defense, and then her overall physical, like the more common physical resistances are not anywhere like high. So it's going to be a little bit wishy-washy on her survivability if she gets hit by too much chip damage related to those attack types. As I said earlier, she's capable of 22 base spirit due to her Fire Spirit's Grace, which is insanely good. She can decimate units that are either not mitigating against magic and water, especially if they are fire element. Because not only does she does capable magic damage, her limit break lowers resistance, kind of like Helena's Black Rose also lowers resistance, so it almost guarantees you damage. It doesn't make sure you do damage, but it does a very good amount of damage to add on to it. Anti-magic, Life Wall is one of the best magic mitigation abilities ever to use, and it should be prioritized on Mua if you use her at all, in my opinion, because not only do you get that magic barrier, you also get Shell for 3 turns, which is insanely good against any magic damage in general. Even if they break your barrier, they still have to work through her innate spirit as well as Shell. It's just so good. Her current matchups against Helena, Rain, and King Mont are going to be significantly favored towards her right now. Obviously, if a Dwayne hits her, she's going to take significant damage, even get one shot. In the future, we also have other units that will do the same to her, but right now, she will... If you were to lane her up against the Helena 1-for-1 and they both use their magic barriers, I will bet my money that Mua will come out on top because of her capable spirit. Just her spirit and her shell will definitely come out on top, in my opinion. Rain and King Mont, if they keep their current build just doing damage, they will melt extremely fast to Mua, because not only is she a water type, she has high fire resistance as well, and she can lower the water resistance even further, so she will be a good matchup into them specifically. She has extremely good status resistances, as I said, silence and disable at 50, which is insanely good, and 10 for confusion, which is very useful for her in general. Keep in mind also that she can silence Helena and other magic users that do not have silence resistance, meaning they will basically be disabled for 3 turns. This is not a small amount. This is literally similar tier as a disable onto magic users, so keep that in mind. This is why I would say in a 1-1 matchup against Helena specifically, I will say Mua has a better RNG chance in general to do better, because she's able to silence Helena, and Helena cannot really CC, she can't crowd control Mua in any way. She also uses maces, so while she does have Cure and Cura on her sub-jobs, it is possible for Healing Mace AI to use Curata on the mace to heal her teammates. I do not have her, so I can't 100% test. However, because it is available to her, it is possible. For her future and longevity, I did have to lower her rating of 3.5 to a 5, because while she is highly effective against all magic attacks types to her barrier and has high spirit and shell with her barrier, her resistances overall, meaning chip damage such as like a barrage from like just from archers in general, or like AoE lance like armor piercer hits her, she's gonna take significant damage, if not just outright kill her, because she doesn't even have AoE resistance into that regard. So you have to keep that in mind. Due to her also weaker 100% hit abilities, she will actually have trouble killing evasion units in one shot that have higher durability, especially like Zazan or like a 2B, because they're not going to be able to get one shot by her unavailable pain. It has to be a much harder hitting ability, or else they will just have another turn because she can't like kill them, and then it's possible she gets revenge killed in that regard. Her limit break actually costs an insane amount of AP to even use, and she actually has mediocre starting AP, which is really sad. She doesn't have the same triple digit starting AP such as like Yuna and Helena as a base unit. She can barely get to like 100 AP with an Esper on, which is kind of sad, because a lot of her abilities are kind of AP heavy, so I don't know why she doesn't have a lot more starting AP. She falls short in damage to magic tanks that focus on spirit and or very heavy amount of magic attack resistance, and I'll explain why. Because since she is locked to maces, she has a much less flexibility to how much penetration and stuff she can gain, and I'll explain that at the end of her rating. She will especially have to worry about Cloud and Charlotte that will be coming out like literally within the month or next month, so she literally has no chance against them. I was also like trying to check out damage. Cloud with the barrage with a decent setup, not even like super like offensive setup, can outright just kill her in one shot. Like there's no chance for her to survive unless she uses like AoE resistance and a defense bracer. She will just die in one shot, so it's kind of unfortunate. Charlotte and Cloud will literally make her kind of useless as a unit. She has no barrier breaks, unfortunately, nor any multi-hits, so she'll have to make every magic spell like she uses be very effective as much as possible, even against Helena, because Helena still has her barrier. They'll be hitting each other's barriers back and forth. While Helena does have the advantage of being able to break her barrier, it can get cancelled by Moa's jamming thrust in that regard. Like, you have to see like the possible chances, but because she does not have a barrier break, she can't kill Helena as efficiently if Helena has her barrier on. She can absolutely melt fire units, however, that are like not mitigating damage against her, because her water imperil on her limit break and a huge AoE range on it. She, like I said earlier, will literally melt Rain and King Mont very, very quickly. I would say roughly maybe one turn order from her, and one or two turn orders from her, and they are just gonna be gone, even if they're healed up, depending on the situation and how much mitigation they have. She will deal significant damage to them. She has cast time on almost all her abilities outside of her EX and limit break. Even her sub jobs have cast times on most of them outside of like jamming thrust and such like that. So it's kind of sad because she does not have any cast time like helping either. Unlike Helena or like Yuna, who have passives that can lower their cast times, she does not have anything for that type of backup. She has no spirit penetration on her passive and only 15% magic resistance. So it's without the use of staffs as well, as I said, it's going to heavily hinder her potential. That means her only possible magic penetration she can gain is going to be from Soul of Dhamasa, outside of her TMR, which can be like Magic Surge from, Fury Surge from like Garvel's TMR, but as a base unit, she's not able to push herself even further because she is locked to maces, which is really sad. And her only actual spirit penetration she can gain is either going to be from the silver rimmed glasses that the event just expired, I do believe, or she has to use a heart-like needles, which requires a turn and a cast time. So yeah, it's not as reliable. Due to her cleric sub, however, it is possible to handle light and dark compositions with some resistance because of the elemental resistance she can gain from it. So it's not, she does very well into fire, and because of her matchup with Helena, she actually has a more favorable matchup against dark in general, as long as she is not basically like frontlining. You know, it's kind of obvious to say that. Light does have some good magic like mitigation if you're not Helena. However, she can still do well against them because of her light veil. And lastly, for her TMR rating, I actually give it a 4 out of 5. Her Star Burial Pendant is an accessory type for 328 HP, not bad. 10 Spirit, pretty good. Crit Avoidance is 12, which is, it's not bad. I don't look too much for crit avoidance, but overall the stats are not bad. But most importantly, in my opinion, is going to be the activation usage, where it not only increases your Spirit by 15 for 3 turns for allies and herself, it also nullifies Sleep, Slow, and Berserk, which means there's less amount of cheese from King Mont, even though we just left the arena map where there's a lot of King Mont cheese from it. It also increases faith, so this is going to be nice to have, especially if you want like auto farming with it. It's finally here outside of like, who is it, Fina. So yeah, and it also has 2 casts, and as you can see from the selection range, she can like it's pretty good on the selection range as well. It's not like just only next to yourself. So that's why overall I give it a 4 out of 5. I would argue that's more better use in live PvP. However, I will say it's also just good in general. Just like being able to manipulate AI with that, with the reliability of the range as well. So overall, Mua's rating right now, I would say she is 4 out of 5 until Charlotte comes out. Then I will say for her future and when Charlotte comes out, it'll just be a 3.5 out of 5 at most, in most situations. So stuff that can work well with Mua. I have to put Tidus, 100%. Tidus he was always a good unit. Right now it's a little bit hard for him because of Helena's. However, if he did have a magic barrier and or like a good amount of like support to bring him up, he can still keep his own, and he definitely buffs up Mua's efficiency because of his mono water abilities. Yuna is also very nice because she is still one of the best supports in the entire game, and because Mua is more focused on like tanking magic damage and dealing a lot of magic damage back, Yuna can kind of keep her topped off, especially against like magic matchups. I specifically put Unkillable or Zazan to Unkillable here because she is a water element, meaning any like lightning type matchups she will struggle against. Zazan is not only one of the strongest earth units out right now, he absolutely can decimate lightning units in general, and they don't really have very good matchups against him, so that's why I specifically put him here with Mua. And Winter Victora, please, she needs her EX. The amount of comboing they can do, imagine her EX comes out and then Mua like LBs a bunch of units because the AoE is huge, and they're all like, you just need one more hit to kill them, and then Victor has her EX Barrage, which has the same amount of AoE like range, and she could just finish them off with that chain and their water resistance down. Like, you could just imagine it. It's literally like an insane combo, but we don't have it yet, and it's taking forever for Gumi to release her to us for that, and I'm very, very sad. From here, for the TMRs, she, as I said earlier, Garvel's TMR for the magic resistance penetration if you want it. She can also use Helena's TMR for Omni Barrier. However, keep in mind, by using the Omni Barrier, it takes like, this is more a 35% to physical and magic. However, it does not have the 50% like her own ability, and it does not have shell and regen. So you have to keep that in mind, depending on what you want to use. From here, the Silver Rimmed Glasses is going to be very good for the Spirit Penetration, specifically because she has none without using an ability. And then Soul of the Masa, if you just want a base amount of like a little bit more magic penetration, which is not bad to have, especially because it helps. It really does, because she kind of needs it. She can only use maces, unfortunately. And with that, I hope you kind of enjoyed my unit review of her. I do wish, like, it's possible her rating can go up with her vision card if they give her enough buffs to it, but the way I see it right now, I don't see enough of like, she's lacking too many things in certain areas, kind of like her cast time. She's gonna have a bad matchup into like most lightning units, especially the ones that are gonna be very meta, which is gonna be like Cloud and Charlotte. So that's why it's hard for me to give her a very proper rating without seeing a lot more that can come out to like benefit her. Which I mean by that, she can be redeemed if they give a new mace release that has either spirit or magic penetration, and her vision card that can give her enough magic or spirit penetration or a lot of survivability. Like, we'll have to see what comes out, but overall I do believe right now she's a 4 out of 5 unit. If there are no changes or not enough benefits given to her with her global like vision card that's we should be getting, not global vision card, sorry, her vision card that's coming out, then I do believe she will be a 3.5 unit. Until then, we'll have to see, but for now, in the future, I do believe she's a 3.5. And with that, until next video, peace out.